Welcome back to Property Unlocked, the podcast where we discuss everything Australian property. I'm your host, Ella, and today I am joined by my personal mortgage broker, Sam.
Hi, everybody.
Now, most of the property content we see online, it's all about wins and successes and how I bought 10 properties by X age. Today, I want to discuss the big losses that we have personally seen working in real estate. Now, as I mentioned, Sam is my personal broker. Can you introduce yourself and your background?
Hey guys, I'm Sam. I'm a first-generation immigrant. I actually moved here in 2007. I was like 8 years old. Got into property. My parents was very driven in saving and investing, and my mom used to own businesses in Cambodia.
Cool.
The issue we had when we came here was the language barrier kind of made it hard for her to set anything up here. And obviously, the tax and financial system here is much more sophisticated, and without an education in that, it's quite hard for someone with a language barrier to pick up any of that. But either way, she still had that discipline of saving money and investing. And that's where I remember when we first came here, 2 years into coming here, she was prioritizing saving money for buying a house, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
I got into my first home when I was 19 years old. That's only because mom was able to save equity from the start, and she was able to help me with the initial 20% deposit. Obviously, I still managed to get the loan on my own and do the loan repayment on my own.
At 19 years old?
Yeah.
Were you working full-time?
I was working full-time plus a part-time job on the weekend.
And what was your job at that point?
Oh, I was just waiting table and
Right.
and just working at restaurants.
Cool.
It was, I was working almost every day.
Yep. 19 years old, working every day, servicing this loan of, how much was it? 520,000?
It was around 500K, yeah.
Yeah. And that property was in Springvale?
Springvale South.
And do you still own that one?
Yes.
Awesome. Is that your owner-occupier?
That's my owner-occupier, yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. So you bought your house at 19 years old, still live there today.
Yeah.
Now you have a wife.
Oh, yeah.
And, you're planning a family, which is so exciting. So great success, but it hasn't always been that way. You have gone through your own lessons.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into that. The number one mistake you see your clients making is the house and land package trap.
Yes.
I don't think anyone will be surprised by hearing that. But can you tell me a story about when you've seen a client go to buy a house and land and get bitten?
Cool. I can give you like 6 examples, but I'll keep it to one.
Okay.
I have multiple clients actually that fall under this category where they sign up for a house and land package. They never inspected the site, so they don't know when this land will be titled.
Yep.
It wouldn't be titled for another 2 years. And then by then, they will come back to me, ask for a home loan.
Yep.
And they can't service the loan anymore because
Why?
In 2 years' time, the interest's gone up. After COVID, the interest hiked up to like 6%. So those guys who locked in the contract before COVID, all of them basically can't afford the loan anymore. It's horrible.
Shoot.
And so they either make sacrifices and maybe sell a house or sell something or do something and just scrape by and get the loan. But I have so many clients who just like, screw it. I'm just going to sell. I'm just going to give my deposit away.
How much would that be?
It's about 5%. So it's 5% of the land.
So that could be like 40 grand in some cases.
Yeah, most of it is like 20 to 30 grand.
Okay.
And I see multiple clients just throw that away. It's after the COVID. And I was like, I wish I could make 30 grand for free like that.
Yeah, developers, they've got it good.
Yeah, exactly.
With the house and land strategy, and especially buying or putting down or signing the contract when the land is not yet titled. As you mentioned, it takes 2 years for the land to title and then you can go ahead and build your house. I see a lot of people doing this because those 2 years, they're not paying interest and they're banking that they get capital growth.
Yes.
So when they get to settlement, they actually have a lot of equity.
Yeah.
Is that something you actually see with house and land packages?
Not at all.
My God.
What I see is probably worse. The building cost goes up.
Yep.
And then they have to pay a 30K variance on the building cost, in which the bank don't consider as part of the valuation. And then so that means they just add $30,000 on top. So if you're doing a loan for 20%, not only do you have to have the 20%, you have the 20% plus $30,000 variation on top. And it just makes it really stressful for some clients. Some clients who did home and land package and then saw me after 2 years, we were able to get it through, but they weren't happy at all with the real estate agent. No.
Yep, understood. And then the other thing I was going to mention about the house and land package strategies, quite often they get to settlement stage and the valuation is not stacking up.
Yes.
What happens in that scenario?
You just have to cover the difference because the bank only lend on the valuation amount. So if the house is 600K and the bank value at 550, they'll lend you 80% or 90% of 550. And then you just have to put 50K on top of your initial deposit. Yeah.
That's terrible. And that's literally the opposite of why people buy house and land. Like I mentioned, they're thinking they get to essentially get the contract down, not pay interest for 2 years, but get capital growth. Well, guess what? You're not getting capital growth in these situations. And especially if you're buying off the plan, like an apartment in Docklands off the plan or a house in Tarneet off the plan, where in 2 years' time, you've got another 1,000 houses in Tarneet because there's all this building happening. So there's more supply. Of course, you're not having that capital growth. It's just, it's a savage scenario. And like you mentioned, the real estate agents, they're not telling you about this. No. It's their job to sell you the property. It's even worse when they're essentially, they're called sales channel agents, and they will position themselves as an investment strategist or a buyer agent. But really, they're getting a commission off the developer. And do you get told how much their commission is?
I know the selling agent, I've asked once, the selling agent commission is like 5% or something like that. Yeah, that's huge.
Hectic, like 30 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
For a house and land package in Tarneet.
I don't know if I can live with myself if I was that agent.
Yeah.
Because if I were to sell that house and the value was the same, whatever. If I saw a house and the value went down and then I kind of convinced them to buy it, I would feel so guilty about myself.
You still get your 30 grand.
I still get 30 grand.
And your client's just lost.
But and I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Absolutely. Now, for the second big mistake you see your clients make often, and I see this as well for new clients who come on board and they already have a portfolio, it's buying in their backyard. So tell me an example of that, Sam.
I think one of the biggest mistakes we made was not talking to a intelligent buy agent. Not trying to plug you in here, but prior to actually meeting the Mecca group, we just buy in our backyard. So I bought in Keysborough, Springwell South. And the growth there is decent. It's consistent. But it's not the kind of growth you'll get in Perth or in Queensland and in other pockets like Darwin. And we have a lot of mutual clients. We can see the growth there, well surpassing 7% per year. The property we bought in Springwell South, Keysborough, they're performing at 3 or 4% a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's still good, but it's not
great.
It's not great. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I actually had a meeting with a client last night. They just came on board and they own 9 properties, 8 of them being in Perth. And they've done that because they live in Perth and they work in Perth and they work in real estate. So they've been able to get really good deals and their growth has been phenomenal, obviously. I mean, Perth has boomed over the past 5 years, but they had been acquiring that portfolio since 2008.
Yeah.
So yes, they've had good growth, but now that Perth is, let's say it's peaked, will they have the same level of growth over the next 10 years? No, they won't. And that's why we're now discussing with them diversifying their portfolio and now buying interstate where they will have better growth. And I completely agree. I mean, when you came on board with us, all of your portfolio was in Melbourne Southeast.
Exactly.
We've now diversified and we've put in a plan to really help you retire early. And you wouldn't get there if you didn't buy in these what we call momentum markets rather than just sticking to your own backyard.
Yeah, exactly. I would say on that topic, always go with a buy agent for your first investment. Not only are you getting exposed to momentum pockets, as you say, but you're also learning from them what kind of matrix you should be looking for. Inventory, so stuff like that I'm learning from working with the Mecca group. And now for my second property, I have a vast knowledge of kind of what to look for. And if I choose to go with your service, then more than happy to. But I'm also now a little bit more capable than I was before.
You're more confident, you have more information and you're more empowered, which is great.
Exactly.
But you don't know what you don't know. And especially a first-time investor, of course, what they know is their own backyard. And that is why you see people our age in their mid-20s looking to buy their first property. And all they can afford is an apartment where they own. And if you're in Melbourne, of course, Melbourne apartments haven't performed the best over the past 10, 20 years. So, that property is not going to be a stepping stone, depending what the growth is like.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, there is this third mistake, a personal mistake, Sam. It was really bad. Can you tell us about the apartment you bought?
Cool. So me and my mom in 2020, we together bought into a apartment in M City, Clayton, Monash. And essentially it's to provide rental housing to uni students. And during COVID, as you know, there was no uni student.
They all moved back overseas.
Exactly. And we were a bit devastated. The rental return was really low at that time. I think it's bounced back up now. It's a 4.2% or something like that.
Okay. How much did you spend on that apartment?
$450, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, about $450. And then the rental is about 1.6 a month. The bank repayment was good at first. It was like 1.7, 1.8, and then it goes up like crazy.
Because the cash rate was like 0%.
Yeah, exactly. And the owner corp was like $4,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Have you guys sold that one?
Yeah, we sold that one as soon as we could. A year in, and you know how COVID lasted quite a long time for Victorian?
A few years.
Yeah. A year in, we were like, oh, this is really bad. We got to get out. Yeah, we sold it, I think, a year and a half or 2 years after that.
Did you sell it for a loss?
Oh, we sold, the price was the same.
Okay.
But there was loss incurred throughout holding the property, which,
Not to mention your stamp duty.
That's right.
And also selling costs.
Yes. So I think factoring the stamp duty, then there is a loss at the end. Yes, factoring in the stamp duty.
Ouch. Everyone, I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people make the exact same mistake buying the apartment. And I think you were just, super unlucky with the timing, having students move back overseas. But you've definitely learned from that one, haven't you?
Yes. We're definitely going forward, buy anything with a land.
Yep. So we've discussed 3 mistakes. Let's list them clearly for the listeners. Number 1, buying house and land packages, constant issues with that. Number 2, buying in your backyard. Yes, they can do well, but of course we want to see a diversified portfolio, and depending on the timing, you could be getting a lot better capital growth interstate. And then number 3, buying apartments. Well, this one was in the M City complex.
Yep.
Where you really want student as your renters during COVID, it just was not the best time.
No.
So 3 big mistakes. Sam, thank you for being so honest, for sharing your own personal mistake, and of course the mistakes you see made by your clients constantly. Thank you for your honesty. And in our next episode, we're going to be discussing how you've got to 4 properties by 26 and how you are going to retire on $100,000 by, what was the year, 2044?
2038.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.